at the Beedour's Family Loft. So, for many who may have asked or have heard over the years, whom is the individual referred to as Adesh Beedour? So, we have the privilege to ask him a couple questions. How has his success been over the years? His trials, his tribulations. Where does he see the sport going in the near future? And stuff like that. So Adesh, without further ado, I'd like to ask you, thank you firstly for allowing us to interview you and to have the privilege to wish you a happy birthday. Pray that you live to see many, many, many more. Hope that you stick in the sport, continue fighting them from clubs to clubs. We hear this year you're racing in 4 clubs, so them fellas are to look out for you. Right? So it is a pleasure. And firstly, boy, the question I think everybody wants to know is, how did you get started in the racing pigeon sport? And what actually drew your attention from the schoolboy homing aspect to racing pigeons? So how you get involved, and what was your motivation to get towards racing and enticing your brain a little bit?
Well, really actually to begin with the main aspect, the reason why I get a mind pigeon, because my parents didn't really like pigeon, was really actually because we not to go on the block. Because all the other youth men and them had pigeons on the block. The only negotiation I can make with my parents was, if it is I get a mind them pigeons, I can't go on the block. And ever since I get them pigeons and then I buy them and they and if I really go away, that's always keep me home majority of the time.
Okay. So with respect to the motivation now, where the racing aspect is involved, what drew your attention to the racing aspect?
I went by pigeon fanciers. Really and truly, as a young child growing up, you see pigeon fanciers, they're having trophies and all kind of things. You want to go and see, you want to go and get. So going by pigeon men and things, you know how dogs spread pigeon men. Every pigeon man has feel to themselves they have the best pigeon. So they will tell you to do this and do that and the next.
So with saying that, who may you indicate was your biggest mentor within your early years of the sport?
Well, the person who really actually bring me in this winning phase of pigeon is Terry Brown, because I had pigeons before. There wasn't no talk about pigeons. They basically rejected pigeon. People give you, when you go a man, he gave away the 0-1 basically. When he came by me, he gave me an ultimatum and he said he checking all them pigeons on them and he said every pigeon, I had 26 pigeons, he said every pigeon I put in that box, he said you're going to kill them pigeon on them. He said think about it, you call him back, I call him back this Sunday, he come, he bring a box. Out of them 27 pigeons, 26 of them went in a box.
Only one remain?
One remain. And the next day I call up a partner. We kill out all them pigeons. I curry, a barbecue pigeon, all kind of thing. After that, I had 2 pigeons. I had one and he gave me a hand to put with that 1 pigeon.
And that's how you started?
Then, yeah, and then I bought 4 pigeons of him and that was it. When I breed them pigeons on them, and I started flying, not even Terry get a win.
Wow.
Me when them races started.
Wow.
There was only 4 pigeons I had. I brought and I breed all them 4 pigeons. That is majority of the pigeons they see me.
Alright, okay, cool. So you have a small fraction of some of your achievements, because basically you have a household full of trophies and merits, right? So you have a few on display. So what are some of the most memorable wins or achievements over the years?
Well, once it is at the end of the day, when I started from the beginning, I started to race pigeons. I was winning when I started with the right pigeons. So when I started, I was always on top.
Wow.
And the feeling of always being there, you don't want to go nowhere lower than that.
So you always maintain.
So even though it is you don't win a race today, you always feel that motivation to keep fighting to go back again. Know the feeling to be there.
Wow. So some of these merits are like what? Ace Pigeon Championship.
Championships.
How many championships you won? That's what? Overall zones?
Overall, it has zonals, it has Yeah, well, basically overalls and zonal had Ace Bird championships here. Too.
Wow. Okay, so for me or many other individuals who may be asking, based on the simple fact of listening this interview thus far, they would ask, how do you actually select breeding pigeons? What was your approach? Because you started off by saying the birds you acquired throughout the years, you kept winning over and over, so therefore something is correct with respect to your breeding program.
Well, so, more or less, the pigeons and them that fly every year, you'll get the outstanding ones. I keep back those and get rid of the ones that didn't perform so well, and those are the pigeons that keep breeding into my line, and that is they keep flying. And well, in between you add one or two pigeons, but you don't just so add it just so you fly them before you do anything.
Alright.
Test them before you just put them into your lock.
So if one may ask, what is like the most valuable lessons you learn? You explain some of your successes, but what's like some of the most valuable lessons that you learn, as well as probably the greatest setback that you have faced during the years of pigeons?
To me, I always say I racing pigeons since 2010. I had pigeons before that. I started racing 2010, and out of all those times, every single year I learned something from my pigeon. I still learn it every year. Have no shortcuts.
So basically, your response is that you don't just learn from trial and errors, you learn from the pigeons.
Yes, basically, every year you learn something. So I think with pigeons, every year you learn something. So you always keep learning. To yourself, you learn different ways and means how to motivate pigeons, how to win races. Because more or less, not every time the same thing, you will win with the same strategy. When it is that strategy ain't working.
So basically, you would see what works best with what line of pigeons that will work in your favor, more or less.
Yeah, and you just learn from talking to other fanciers, learning their experiences, apply to yours. Because not because something works for one fancy, it means it works for you, and everybody has different strategies.
So with respect to like now setbacks, what were some of the setbacks that you may have faced during your time frame thus far?
Well, basically sometimes the main setback I have sometimes is that you're flying in a competition and your pigeons them lose. Your fighters to stay, and you end up with basically a little bit of pigeons for the next year whole good season.
But then you mentioned that, so then I'll ask this now. What will keep you motivated with such challenges? Going into a new year knowing that your old bird team is not strong. What will keep you motivated?
What does normally keep me motivated in that aspect is experience, because I race programs with 2 pigeons, 3 pigeons, and win out championships.
What?
Because people, and while it had people in that competition, at the beginning of the program, they had 30 pigeons. Before the program, before reaching center, all them pigeons lose out. I had 2 pigeons flying, winning races back to back. Anyways, and them. Wow. And they keep you on top in the competition.
Right, so this is like the trivial question that I ask myself, and I may not have asked a lot of individuals. However, the thought is always there in my mind, right? With respect to how do you actually balance your home life, your involvement in the sport, I mean, all aspects outside of pigeon racing, because this is a sport that actually does acquire a lot of time if you want to have that cutting edge. Is it that you have developed strategies that doesn't actually require much time from you, or is it that is a struggle where you face to deal with so many different aspects of your personal life as well as the sport of pigeon racing?
No, well, basically is growing up, everything challenging pigeon racing have no shortcut. Because I always learn to myself, if it is you try this year to cut short on something, at somewhere long in the line you had to go back and end up doing that same thing. So it have no shortcut basically. The trick in it is basically, to get time, include your family in doing it.
Wow.
My family like to go all about, so when we go and train, we go together and train.
Together. Wow. That's really nice. I mean, I guess people can take a page out of that. Family involvement. Yeah, you know, family involvement does make a lot of sense there. So, if you have any advice for a young fancier whom, you know, getting involved with the homing aspect, you know, and not really understanding the racing concept of it. You know, yeah, any words of encouragement for them? I mean, from me to a young individual, you know, I wouldn't inform them of the cost of feed, you know, transportation, and these sort of things. But I mean, if they actually have a mentor that could assist with some of the challenges like that. But what advice would you have for a young fancier?
The main and the most important thing about it, if you're going into pigeon racing, don't go into it as an aspect thinking you're going to win any money. This pigeon thing is not a profitable thing, it's basically for your hobby and real life. The next aspect I get good pigeons from a good fancier that flying consistent and this thing, and work with the pigeons and them. Don't not because the pigeons them flying and you see the person who have them flying and you not flying, work with them and build your line of pigeons and eventually you'll get there. To me it wasn't basically eventually because when I got them pigeons, from the time I bred them pigeons and I was winning from the beginning. But
wow.
As I say, that is only because you get somebody who basically
was genuine to you.
And the person was teaching me along the way.
Okay, that's Mr. Terry Brown.
Yeah.
He's from where?
He's from City.
Okay.
They eventually, as I say, he was teaching me along the way. Plenty of my pigeon knowledge that I have is because he teach me to do it. And basically, if I never had met him and I never got a pigeon, I might have just probably be a mediocre pigeon fancier, just racing pigeon, win one race now. Next week I might not even be doing it by now because I might have got discouraged. But
so right then and there, again, that may be some sort of discouraging factor for a young fancier.
Yeah, it was
by not having.
It was not an experience like where you meet up a pigeon fancier and he have pigeons and he pushing the pigeon just for you to get a scene. It was never like that. As I say, after I get rid of all my pigeons, was 4 pigeons I bought, and those 4 pigeons were I mix and match right or wrong. And I used to breed, ever since I breed in pigeon, it's 12 pigeons I breed in.
Per season? Per
season, and fly a whole young bird season and win all the season. With them 12 pigeons alone.
So we're talking Ace Bird Championship?
Ace Bird Championship, everything. Wow. I race, sometimes I might say to myself in the competition and I haven't studied to race, and when time come and I see people racing, I want to race, I take out my 2 pigeons I had in the stock cloth and I bring them out and I win in
as reserves?
Yeah.
So I asked you about a motivation factor, a motivating factor, and you mentioned earlier that throughout the season where some individuals may have had 20, 30 birds going through, you mentioned you would have raced the entire program with just 3 birds.
Yeah. They're flying and coming right here.
All the way till the end.
I had instances where I had a pigeon that won ace bird 2 different years.
Back to back.
Back to back. As a young bird and as an old bird.
Wow.
And I thought we flying very hard races.
What are some of the clubs that you have flown with thus far?
I race TPC, High Flyers, I race Port of Spain.
Port of Spain is...
that was before URPC was...
oh, okay.
It was Port of Spain first. So I raced I started off in TPC first.
Mm-hmm.
I started off in... then I went to Port of Spain. From there, we had the club in High Flyers in Aruca here, and then I'm presently racing in URPC.
Wow. So you kind of had a bit of a colorful taste throughout Trinidad.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice, man. Would have met a lot of different fanciers throughout the years, and okay, that's really nice.
Executive positions and those sort of things.
You held as well.
In pigeon clubs, yeah. Ever since.
So you are the ideal young individual to motivate new fanciers.
I say so.
Wow, that's really nice, man. So, again, we'd like to thank you for this interview. We'd also like to wish you a happy birthday. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day and may everything be memorable and enjoyable for you and the family. So, all the best for the 2025 season, both young and old bird purpose.
Yeah, man, thanks, man.